hello, Indianapolis Motor Speedway fans. It is May, and in fact, it is almost time to go racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And sitting to my right is somebody who knows about racing at Indy, but also winning at Indy, Colton Herta. Colton picked up a win last year in a rain-soaked, rain-soaked Grand Prix at Indianapolis. How much fun was that race, and how frustrating was it at the same time trying to decide what to do?
It was such an unknown, right? Because I went from 14th to first after the first pit sequence, and after that, I was like, okay, it's dry, we're good. And then maybe 10 laps later, I started to see sprinkles, and you just never know what's gonna happen in a race like that. I've never had a race like that in my entire life. And, you know, wet to dry, back to wet, back to dry, and then finishing in the wet. The strategy was outrageous. We were constantly trying to pick through what tires to be on, what fuel strategy needs to be the one that's gonna work. And luckily my team did a great job for me there.
And that's got to be hard, right? When you're the driver and you're trying to just navigate your way through those conditions, and then also trying to give input on what the right thing to do is. So you basically have to trust your whole team. You know, GMR sponsors that race, and I'm thinking we're going to end up with a lot of those GMR ambulances on track. Because I was, especially at the end, nobody could see. You could see,
yeah,
but a lot of those folks behind you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I mean, I could see going down the front straight. Obviously, we have those giant TVs on the sides where the spectators sit. And so I was looking at that, and all I could see was a huge, looked like smoke behind me, just huge rain rooster tail behind me. I couldn't see anybody behind me, and so I imagine it was probably a bit of a problem for the guys behind me to see. But luckily I was in the lead. I had clear road ahead of me, and it was good for me.
So you just brought something up I've never heard before, and I've heard it in short track a lot of times. Like you run the Chili Bowl, if you get a chance, you look up at the video board to understand if somebody's behind you. Do you guys watch the video boards there when you're on the road course?
Sometimes I'll take a peek at it. If I don't really have anything to do except for upshift a few times, I might take a look at it to see what's going on around the track, if guys are pitting. You know, you can really tell a lot by the video boards across the tracks that you can't be told on the radio and stuff when everybody's pitting, who's pitting, where everybody is on track, to kind of get a general feeling of what the best strategy is, or where guys around you. Do I need to burn a whole bunch of push to pass? Are guys pitting? And so you kind of get that feeling from the video boards, but it's hard at a lot of tracks. Indy makes it easy. Well,
that's interesting. I'd never heard that. That's kind of cool. So speaking of that race, one of the best images from last year was a little bit of a drift that you did back through 8, 9, and 10. How much were you worried about that? Was that something where you thought, oh, I'm in big trouble here, or did you feel pretty comfortable that you had that under control?
No, I didn't feel too comfortable. I was all the way on the lock stop, so there was nothing more. I was pushing really hard on the wheel to see if it would give me a little bit more, but I was fully locked. And so then it just ended up being a little bit, I don't know if it was luck, if I hit a dry patch or what it was, but the thing ended up coming back around, and yeah, it got me a lot of views online from that one.
Well, it was really pretty too in the rain. It just looked very graceful, and then the way you caught it and it kept on rolling was pretty exciting. So 5th Indianapolis 500 coming up. Indy 500s didn't start out great for you. You had that car failure after a couple laps, but every year you've been the Speedway, you've sort of been in the hunt. Whether it's qualifying or even race, you're one of those drivers that really has a chance to win. What would it mean to win an Indy 500 for you?
It's a hard question to answer. I get asked it all the time, but the best way to explain it would probably be when I do win it, and then I'll be able to tell you. It's something that you're just fighting for it every day of your life, and that's the one thing that you want to do each year is that last weekend of May, Memorial Weekend. You want to be on Sunday afternoon, you want to be in victory lane with a cold glass of milk, and that's why we wake up and work so hard every day for the whole year.
Well, I know our fans would love to see it. You're always fast in May, and I know this May you'd love to start out with that win in the GMR Grand Prix and then carry that through to the Indianapolis 500. I asked you about this, I think in the off-season we were talking on the radio, just kind of promoting things, but I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with your dad, because I think a lot of people don't quite understand it, and it's actually really entertaining for us. You guys can go at it on the radio at times during the races, but that's just literally how you guys communicate in the car. There's a great relationship between the two of you.
Yeah, I mean, from the outside, it could look like that, but there is a very different kind of view from personal life to work life, and we do understand that that's kind of part of working, and things get heated inside the cockpit for everybody, and yeah, unfortunately, that's just part of it sometimes.
And it seems like there's not, usually your dad's pretty calm about it. So he obviously clearly understands. He's obviously been a race car driver, so he knows the pressure that you're under. But it actually is pretty entertaining. We appreciate that as fans, just watching that interaction. And it also really goes to how passionate you are about this sport.
I mean, it means everything. The whole reason I became a race car driver was to win races. I wanted to do well. I wanted to excel in something, and I found the great sport of IndyCar. And so that's why I have so much passion for it. You know, it's been my life for all that I can remember, since watching my dad at the racetrack drive for Andretti Autosport, growing up through the ranks of go-karting and Skip Barber and all the way up the ladder system. It's been a goal of mine, and there's so much heart and passion involved in it.
So you carry a little extra pressure in the Indianapolis 500 because the brand that you represent all season long, Gainbridge, actually is our presenting sponsor of the Indianapolis 500. Do you feel that, or are you able to put that aside and just stay focused on driving?
No, but it is great to see when you come into the track and you have your sponsor on the wall. You know, they do so much, not only for me, but for the Speedway and just for the sport of IndyCar. Without them, I think the sport would be very different for me. It would be very different for a lot of people.
So the off-season, really cool announcement. You've extended your agreement with Andretti Autosport and with Gainbridge staying around. Is that a little bit of a relief for you to know that there's a long-term relationship there?
It's nice, yeah. I've only ever had a 2-year deal in IndyCar, so to line up and have 5 years just ready, boom, to the end of 2027, it feels great. It takes a little bit of the pressure off, but still doesn't get rid of any of that determination or hunger for being competitive still.
So the season this year, you were a lot of speculation about you in Formula One and about whether Andretti Autosport was going to go Formula One racing. Obviously, that's something I think you obviously want to try at some point in time. Where does that stand today?
I would still love to do it. You know, there's not an opportunity for me at the moment. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Andretti and Cadillac and getting into Formula One, and if that happens, maybe that could open a door for me. But at the moment, I don't have really anything to report on. I don't have a contract. I would still love to try it,
Yep.
but at the moment, main focus is IndyCar, and that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think the one thing as IndyCar fans we continue to watch is the excitement of the potential of an American going over and running Formula One and having the chance to be really successful, and you certainly could do that. So there's a lot of support, I think, from our paddock if that's where you end up, where we love the fact that you're going to be with us, at least for the near term.
It's a win-win situation for me. I have a great seat in IndyCar, a competitive seat until, you know, at least 2027. And if I do end up getting the chance to go do Formula One, I have a great fan base behind me, and most people have been very nice and receptive about me wanting to do this, and it seems that they share the excitement that I have for it as well.
So you got a little bit of a change in teammates this year. You and Rossi have been together your entire career. Alexander went to a different team. Is that going to be odd for you to have a different teammate there, somebody that maybe you looked up to as you were starting to learn?
Yeah, it's very strange. The weirdest thing is that I'm going to be the longest-standing IndyCar driver, and so yeah, it takes a little bit of a different role for me. Obviously, Alex was a great leader at that team and great with setup work, especially at the Speedway, which obviously is the most important to us. So I have big shoes to fill, and I'm ready to take on the task.
Well, we're pretty excited to see how you do, and certainly you're good enough. You're going to stand on your own. I'm going to ask you one question, so you can take the fifth on this one. But one of the most exciting things for IndyCar fans was Mid-Ohio last year. You sort of stayed out of that whole fray, that mess that kind of went on there on the Andretti Autosport side. How did you just stay away from that?
I just didn't hit anybody. That was the easiest way. But yeah, it was a good race for us. We had a good race going. I believe we were second at the time, somewhere up the front. And unfortunately, I can't really remember what happened. We might have had a fueling problem or whatnot that set us back. But yeah, there was a little bit of a breakdown. But the good thing is Michael was right on it, and everybody afterwards, I think, came to the pits with their head a little bit lower and knew that maybe we didn't do a good job there. But luckily, it was a one-time thing, and everybody kind of moved on from it.
Well, I think it was, you know, the way Michael pulled the team together and everybody actually rallied around each other, came back stronger probably than anything. But from a fan standpoint, it was kind of entertaining to watch. Well, race fans, I'm sitting here next to one of the fastest drivers in the NTT IndyCar Series. Frankly, one of the fastest drivers in the world, Colton Herta. Can he win on the road course again here this week? Tune in and find out.